In today's video, we're going to be looking at angle relationships and different diagrams involving angles and creating equations from those diagrams. So one type of angle relationship you can have are complementary. So with complementary angles, they are two angles that add up to 90 degrees. Okay, so let's say this angle is 3x plus 2, and this is 2x plus 1. In order to make an equation to figure out those angle measures, you add them to equal 90. Another type of relationship would be supplementary. Okay, or known as a linear pair. So two supplementary angles would look like this. You have a straight line right here, and we have two angles. We have this one right here, which we'll call 5x minus 3, and we'll call this 3x plus 4. All right, so these are two angles. Now, in a supplementary relationship, you add the angles together to equal 180. So we have 5x minus 3 plus 3x plus 4 equals 180. And then you would solve from there. Another type of relationship would be vertical angles. So vertical angles are on opposite sides of two intersecting lines. So this angle right here and this angle right here are vertical. So we'll call this 5x minus 4, and we'll call this 10x plus 3. Vertical angles are congruent. They are equal. So we would, in order to solve for x, we would have to set them equal to each other. Now, if I said this angle right here is 4x plus 8, we know that this is a linear pair. This is supplementary. So you could technically take these two angles and add them to 180. So we have 5x minus 4 plus 4x plus 8 equals 180. All right. So just be careful with how the diagram is being labeled. So we talked about complementary, talked about supplementary. Oh, these are also called adjacent. Adjacent meaning right next to each other. All right. This angle right here, the 5x plus 4 angle, both share a common side with the 4x plus 8. So they are adjacent. Usually adjacent angles are never vertical. Not usually, never. They're never going to be vertical unless, no, they're never going to be vertical. Okay. So, other types of relationships. Oh, a triangle. If I'm given a triangle, and this is 2x, this is 3x plus 1, and this is 4x minus 7. All the angles in a triangle add up to 180. 2x plus 3x plus 1 plus 4x minus 7 equals 180. Another type of relationship you could see in triangles is an external angle. So, for example, if I have this angle right here is called my external angle. We know that the two non-adjacent angles of the triangle, the interior angles of the triangle, add up to that. the external angle. So say this was x plus 3 and this is x plus 1. We know that these two right here, these two angles, add up to the external angle that they're not adjacent to. So in order to set up this equation, you would do x plus 3 plus x plus 1 equals the external angle, which is 2x plus 1. You could have a diagram with two parallel lines cut by a transversal. So here's two parallel lines. I don't know if that was parallel. That's better. Cut by a transversal. And like you saw in the last video, okay, we have the interior and exterior. Now, the angles of these diagrams have a certain type of relationship where that any acute angle, so those are all my acute angles, are going to have the same measure. And any obtuse angle, that's an obtuse angle, this is an obtuse angle, those are also going to have the same measure. So, depending on how these diagrams are labeled is going to be how you create your equation. So, let me label this one 2x plus 1, and let me label this one 3x minus 4. The 2x plus 1 angle is obtuse. The 3x plus 4 angle is acute. So they're not going to be the same measure. So in this case, whenever they're not the same shape, they're going to be supplementary, meaning that you add them to equal 180. So again, obtuse, acute, add them to equal 180 when you have two parallel lines cut by a transversal. All right, let's look at another example. Actually, let me do a different diagram. Okay, these two angles, I'll label this one 3x plus 4 and 2x minus 10. These two angles right here, they're both obtuse. They're both greater than 90-degree angles, so they're the same shape. So when they have the same shape and two parallel lines cut by a transversal, they are congruent. Also, these are called corresponding angles. They're in the same location. So 3x plus 4 equals 2x minus 10. Let's look at another one. Two parallel lines cut by a transversal. Okay, these two angles right here, acute, acute, so they're going to equal 3x plus 1 equals 4x minus 8. These are known as alternate exterior angles. And we'll look at one more. So with these angles, again, acute, obtuse, different shapes. They're not going to be congruent. They're not going to be the same. So they're going to be supplementary. So we do 4x plus 9 plus 3x equals 180. So we talked about complementary angles. We talked about supplementary angles. We talked about vertical angles and adjacent. We talked about all the different types of angle relationships in the triangle and in a diagram where you have two parallel lines cut by a transversal. So in setting up these equations and solving for x, it's really important you know these types of relationships and to go back and check your work. All right, so if you have questions with this, let me know in class. The other video is going to, you should have watched before this, goes over the names of the relationships of different types of angle relationships. So that's definitely good to watch and refresh your memory on. All right, but that's it for today's video. If you have questions in class, let me know. Thank you for watching.